Hey guys, how ya doing? I'm here to give you guys a recap on the new chapter of Nanatsu no Taizai, which is on chapter 269, or you could call it the 7 Deadly Sins on chapter 269. Yes, this chapter right here was really good, really nice, looking forward to it now. And finally, we get to see our two characters, obviously, if you read last chapter, etc. And this one is called The Purgatory Life. And we see to it that Meliodas wakes up and sees Bond there and says, is this an illusion, or is there no way he could be in the purgatory or something? Although Bond says, I'm the real thing, Doc, or should I say Captain. And we have to it that Meliodas hugs Bond and cries and maybe happiness or grief or something, maybe because of what happened. And we see to it that Meliodas tells Bond that he has completely given up. He was never be able to figure out how to get out of the purgatory or get back to the real world ever again. And he figured he never again see Elizabeth or Bond again, that kind of thing. And we see to it that Meliodas says, what are you doing here in the purgatory? Has the immortal Bond finally kicked the bucket after all? And we have to it that Bond says, as if, you idiot, I've come to get you. And we see to it that Meliodas tells me, don't tell me you know of a way to get back over there to the real world, do you? And we have to it that Bond goes like, and Meliodas is like, that so. And we have to it that Meliodas tells him, you really are immortal without knowing how to get back, and you just recklessly dove into the purgatory. And we have to it that Bond goes like, what am I supposed to do? I couldn't just leave you alone in a place like this. And we have to it that Meliodas goes like, well, at least I have my idiot friend here with me. Not too bad, And we have to it that Meliodas goes like, we have plenty of time. Let's go get to thinking. And we had to it that how about we talk a little bit about the purgatory, And we had to it that they end up talking about the purgatory, and we see to it that the purgatory's environment actually disintegrates armor and clothing alone of anywhere else. As for two species of monsters in the purgatory, we have to it that there's one with the souls that have fallen into the purgatory, transformed by their rage, in other words, the foreign species, And that's what Meliodas and Bond became. For example, fall into rage and etc. And they became the respectable animals, which Bond was the fox and Meliodas was the dragon. And we have to it that the second kind of monster in the purgatory is the kind with substance that was born in the purgatory with indigenous species. Their bodies have evolved have evolved to withstand the purgatory, and they are perfect for their parts for materials here and there, which is really, really slick here. So we had to it that Bond and Meliodas tries to go after the monster tries to go after the monster in the purgatory who could withstand its power here and there, or the environment in general. And we had to it that they are having trouble apparently. Even Meliodas is actually struggling against it. And Bond's like, what happened to your freaking super strength or something? And we have to it that Meliodas explains he's only Meliodas' emotions, and he's only his soul alone. Even if we try to escape the purgatory, ultimately I'm going to slow you down. But Bond goes like, well then, I'll just carry your butt then. He tried to use Fox Hunt on the animal that could withstand the purgatory environment, but apparently that does not work at all. And we had to it that Meliodas explains to Bond, because of the curse that my freaking old man put on me, every time I die, I get torn from my body and get imprisoned here in the purgatory. And we have to it that Meliodas is. We have to it that Bond asks, what is he trying to do? And we have to it that Meliodas explains that the Demon King wants to make Meliodas his successor. So emotions like me are a nuisance for his plan. And we have to it that Bond seems to understand that, and they go and and Meliodas must be surprised to see Bond having to survive the purgatory with the flesh body, huh? You're really incredible for endurance after all. But we have to it that Bond explains I can't even count how many times I actually wanted to give up finding you, For the first 100 years, I revived from being burnt to ashes, from freezing to the bone, from rotting from deadly poisons, you name it. And I just kept on repeating and repeating and repeating. but for the last 200 years, I got pretty used to this. And I'm pretty sure all you manga readers might be wondering, 200 years have passed in that time? Isn't that supposed to be, isn't that mean that 200 years passed in the real world? Pretty much, did you guys, if you understand what Merlin told Bond and the others before Bond went to the Purgatory, is that, Bond, that time in the Purgatory, like, is really, really fast. So it was only natural to see to it that, like, that a lot of time has passed already. So the many days that happened in the real world, where our original 7 deadly sins and Elizabeth are at right now, maybe a couple days just passed and 200 years just went past into the Purgatory. So that's the difference, you know, etc. And Bond continues by saying, you know, even though I may be vomiting blood, getting my butt handed to me, bitten around here and there, I still dealt with it for 200 years and I still was able to sleep. And we add to it that the creature ends up having to, like, try to escape Bond, but Bond, on the other hand, managed to get him right on time because, like, because he has been in the Purgatory for 200 years, etc., it was all part of his life, and he's able to sleep through it and maybe go a little bit faster, and he was able to catch the creature right away. And we see to it that, Meliodas and Bond ends up using the creatures, like, freaking, like, skin, bones, and other things to turn it into clothing, you know? We have to it that Meliodas thanks Bond for actually coming for him, and Bond therefore says, yeah. And we see to it that, that Bond explains to, like, Meliodas, like, Merlin said you were captured by the Demon King, so I assumed you had been locked away somewhere. And of course, Meliodas explains, like, yeah, at first I was being confined by the Demon King under close watch since I was trying to look for an escape route from the Purgatory to get right back to my real body. But in the end, I wasn't able to find a way, so I succumbed to despair and gave up escaping after I became a monster. And therefore, that's when the Demon King felt it was safe to leave him be and unwatched or something. So even Bond goes like, yeah, didn't he consider the possibility after he left you here while wandering around you might coincidentally just stumble upon the exit and escape? And of course Meliodas says, yeah, that's true, but you know, like, if he's left me here, then that means he has no fear of me escaping at all, which means that the exit to the Purgatory is kept by the Demon King. Isn't that right? And we have to the Bond goes like, well, it's definitely worth looking into, isn't it? And they end up finishing their clothing and their weaponry. Well, of course, Meliodas' weapon, of course. And they both get ready to go after the Demon King because he may be the only one how to get out of the Purgatory, etc. And we have to it that that they all continue their journey to, like, through the Purgatory to escape and possibly meet the Demon King himself. So yeah. Anyways, this chapter right here, in simple words without a lot of detail, Bond talks to Meliodas, they reunite, they talk about how the Purgatory is so different right now, and they end up having to go after a creature whose body is able to resist the Purgatory environment. They end up killing it, capturing it, and turning it into materials, etc. And they decide that their next job is to go after the exit of the Purgatory, which is possibly held or informed by the Demon King himself. So they continue their journey and get ready to, like, possibly face him head on. So it looks like to me like that it's gonna be a difficult quest because I don't know how in the hell they're gonna, like, beat the Demon King if he's the only one that knows the exit out of this Purgatory. It's gonna be pretty surprising, but we'll have to see. But we know how Bond and Meliodas is, and they're pretty strong. There's no denying that. Think about how much hell they've been through together and how much damage they do when they're teaming up, especially when they're at their super strength. But, well, of course, Meliodas is the only exception because he's just the emotions of Meliodas himself. So the Meliodas emotions were just stuck in the Purgatory while the Meliodas that has no emotions or something is, like, back in the Britannia world getting ready to become Demon King, etc. So until then, I'll see you guys in my next video. So I'm off for Zero, people. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time, alright? Peace out. Bye-bye. Toot-toot-toot.